With this, we go to our final session, which is a conversation. May I request Rahul Kapoor, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Urban Development and Housing Affairs, to come on the stage. May I also request Kunal Satyarthi ji, Joint Secretary, Department of Land Resources, to come on the stage. And may I also request Rakesh Verma ji, CMD, Managing Director of MapMy India, to come on the stage, please. Let's bring some more energy. Give them a round of applause. So what an action-packed day we had today. So to start with on this session, which is kind of conversation which has been built upon, and we have two user ministries which are probably the biggest users of geospatial technology in their sectors. So may I request Rahul to start, maybe make some points, and then we can build upon that.
Thank you so much, Sanjay ji. So I think the last session of the day, and everybody must be waiting for us to get this over with. So will not take too much time, but I think as an urban ministry, and when we see the use of geospatial technologies that has been happening on the ground, I would just like to say that 2015 was probably when, as a ministry, we first decided to delve into technology as a strategic mission when the Smart Cities mission was announced. And accordingly, all the 100 cities, they became like lighthouses for experimenting on various technological interventions, including geospatial. How this evolution took place, it started with whatever was probably happening across the globe, but not really meeting the local context of our urban landscape and our urban scenario. So the initial set of investments that took place threw up a lot of outputs, a lot of data, a lot of but very few use cases. And that is where the whole idea of making it more strategic and making it more planned came about. We talked about the data smart city strategy at that point of time, eventually culminating into an urban digital mission. And slowly, you would see that a lot of interventions have taken place in urban, wherein the geospatial technologies are being adopted and used. But still, as a structured program, I would say that it has to be more bottom up. Reason being, at the end of the day, the use will be felt by the person who's actually got a problem to solve. And we are in an area or in a domain wherein, as a central government, we can give that nudge, but it's not a problem for us to solve directly. So that's where most of the action has to happen at the city level. That is those people who are facing with issues like urban flooding, with congestion, with traffic challenges, with regard to all those areas, and urban being such a multi-sectoral kind of a creature. So I think there's so much of opportunity there for technology such as geospatial to basically be imbibed there. There are a lot of examples, use cases that I'd like to talk about subsequently, but I think let's take this conversation like it should be, otherwise it will become a monologue.
Yes, thank you very much, Rahul. I talked about urban digital mission. And we have Kunal Satyarthi ji, who is the Joint Secretary, Department of Land Resources. And I think there is a new initiative known as Urban Land Records Management. So Kunal ji, would you like to share a bit more about your initiatives in this regard?
Thank you to the organizers and co-organizers. And I know this is an impediment between you and the cocktail or the dinner that is planned. So I would not like to destroy that rhythm. I see tired faces all across. You have been sitting here since 1 o'clock and talking about things. But just to be very precise, my Department of Land Resources, where I landed 5 months back, I was earlier in the National Disaster Management Authority for 3 years, looking at these geospatial domain for a pretty long time. I was also handling the Space Application Center in Himachal Pradesh for 3 years. So I have a fair bit of idea about what technology can bring and what technology can't bring. So I'm very conscious about that. So I'll talk about only those things, but about the question is quite directed towards our venture into, or adventure into domains of urban land record. That is what I'll talk about because our ministry and department has been working for a pretty long time, almost 10-15 years, in a program called Digital India Land Records Modernization Program, DLMP program, one of the largest program. So some of the things that we have been able to do, what raw material we have is all the record of rights have been digitized. All the cadastral maps have been digitized and vectorized. Registration systems are online. Court case management systems are online. Consent-based Aadhaar is a phenomena. ULPIN is being generated. There is where we are. Modern record rooms have been created across the country. These are the 5-6 major milestones that have been achieved. There was Core GIS, the state level data center. This is 15 years big journey. There are a lot of raw material available. What we want to move on is what I'll talk about to begin with, and then maybe add in the conversation before it becomes a monologue. So having realized that so much has been done, we thought that this will take another 20 years to do. And how do we do it quickly? And we tried to do it quite rushed up for rural setup also. So in rural setup, if you can imagine, I'll not answer the urban question because that is totally dark right now. In a rural setup, we have set up 5 milestones to achieve in this year and maybe 2 more years. And not me. The Union Budget has done it, the Honorable Finance Minister has done it, and our Minister has done it. So 5 of the milestones are easiest first. Whatever cadastral maps you have, digitized, vectorized, please georeference them for all the states. And after georeferencing all the land parcels, please generate ULPIN addresses for them. First milestone. The second milestone is registration system is online, but it is not paperless. It is discretionary currently. So make all registration system in the country completely paperless. Having made completely paperless, pre and post link it to the land record system. If you're buying this hotel, it should be linked to a land record system. It should not be just a registration between a buyer and a seller. We also want to scan, digitize, create metadata of 100 years of registration document. The most precious document in the country right now. So 3 very important milestones within the registration system. And we want to do it this year. And we are incentivizing almost 10,000 crores for these initiatives in the country. So these are 2 easier ones. Third one is, if you go to a revenue court, you can spend 10 years. The only threat I can give you if I'm in land is I'll take you to the court. And then we'll see you in the court because it will take 5 to 10 years to dispose. So if you want to make the revenue court systems online, paperless, completely pre and post linked to land records. Third milestone, very briefly, and then I can expand if required, if you still have the appetite for more thoughts. The fourth is a lot of non-cadastral areas that are in the country. So make those non-cadastral areas digitized. All the ROR and cadastral map that has been digitized should not be gloriously kept with the Tehsildar or SDM or collector, should be available to everybody in the country. So we want the ROR and cadastral map to be available online, digitally signed, legally valid document. So you don't have to go to a Tehsil office to get it stamped again. So the number of cycles that you go to a government office should be reduced from currently it is 32. 7 offices, 32 times. We want to bring it to almost 0. The fifth one is the most difficult. Make your cadastral maps as good as ground reality today. Because they are all frozen 50 years, 100 years, 30 years in time. So these are the initiatives we have taken. I'll expand them if required. Urban, I am keeping it silent. Your question was on urban, but I answered rural. So that's how.
That's fair enough. We just picked up from Rahul on the urban side, so that is, and I'm hoping that your landing in Department of Land was smooth. So it was an even surface. Okay, thank you. Rakesh ji, you've been veteran in this industry, and we have 2 user departments here, and you are one of the geospatial industry leaders in India. How do you think that these 2 departments have created market for geospatial industry? I'm going to be very difficult to you, but you are smart enough.
Thank you, Sanjay, and thank you, my co-panelists. Well, what they talked about is definitely going to create, or has created already, I would rather say, a huge opportunities for the Indian industries. So there's no doubt about that. So what more you want to hear from that?
Your perspective.
Okay, my perspective is now few suggestions and few ideas is what I can do. And to give you a good perspective, let me tell you, from 1995, MapMyIndia has been building digital maps. It's a digital map and deep tech product and platform company. So saying that products and platforms in the software and maps don't exist in India, it's a myth. It has been there, and we have supported even organizations like CBDT, GSTN, and I can start naming several of them who have gotten used to using a product. A product and a platform means something that's available rather than creating from scratch. Using the other thing we have heard enough today about digital twin. A digital twin can be made very well provided you have a very accurate base map, whether it is 100 layers or 1,000 layers. And as MapMyIndia, I can certainly say that we have sub-meter accuracy 2D, 3D maps. So now, keeping all this in mind, what the suggestion is simple. What exists, no point in trying to redo it. So that's one big suggestion I would like to have for any planner or any government organization. Like I used the example of CBDT and others, they could have also tried to make the maps. So that's my few words.
Rahul, I think this gives me a clue. If I'm wrong, maybe, but I know that Greater Mumbai municipality have given a contract of almost $20 million to create a 3D model of the city. And if you look at one city of $20 million, and then if you look at the whole India, what is the kind of market the urban center is going to create for just the base map?
I think that's a difficult question because, of course, you see a lot of potential here when you're looking at the market size of India. There are 4,800 plus cities on date.
Yeah.
So large or small, and 250 cities that you can say probably are big corporations. Around 500 cities with a population of more than 100,000. When you compare to some of the countries in Europe and the size of cities there, so probably India is huge for that matter. So it's a huge market. My concern is more at the grassroots level and the kind of use cases that you need to build to really reap the benefits of these technologies. We have been experiencing this time and again, and that is why when we work with the industries, when we work with the academia, the civil society, or even the government, city governments or state governments or central government, what we really want is solutions that are more localized, context specific, and that is where the local industries innovation has to be fostered. Because see, somebody having a great project or proposal somewhere maybe outside the country, so that would not readily work down there. So going forward as an urban digital mission, we are specifically looking at a component on innovation in these technologies that will percolate down at the grassroots level, and from there, how do these best practices basically spread across is what we are really looking at. So today, if you ask in the smart cities, for example, I can quote a few good examples, and that gives you a lot of happiness when you hear them. You know, like for example, in a city like Vadodara, using geospatial technologies, you were routing the hospitals and the ambulances that were moving, and you had traffic management system that was being managed by the command and control center. Linking these two data sets, they created a new use case where you could create a green corridor for all the ambulances. That's something which is really taking the potential of geospatial forward. There are several such examples. For example, in Varanasi, you had the route maps of all the waste vehicles from where they would be picking up the waste and where they would be stopping. And you also had your geospatial data wherein you had Google images or some kind of video images. You could understand that the vehicle is stopping here, but this is not a scheduled or earmarked or designated dump site. So that's how you can actually create a use case for identifying illegal dump sites where these stoppages are being made and waste is getting dropped. So those are the kind of potential cases that will really create a market for geospatial technologies, and not this $20 billion or $20 million of investment.
No, thank you very much. You know, in fact, I purposefully asked you this question because one day or someday we have to make a very high resolution 3D map of the whole city because we are moving into that direction. Either it is rural area or urban area, the whole habitat area has to be mapped in that manner, or it's a Herculean ask. So I would like to go forward with Kunalji that how do you see the combination of rural and urban mapping, and where we can actually look at a partnership with the industry because it's a Herculean task.
See, we can't do anything without the industry. So, first step first. So, for us, for land record perspective, two things come to my mind from your question is, I'm not getting into urban still, but for urban land record generation, there are two critical things that we require. One is digital twin is great talked about. I know about the Jaipur model and other models. I will not name some of the cities and towns, but how do you use this technology? What is the most optimum that you want to do or nothing beyond? So what centimeter? It's great to talk about 2 centimeter, 5 centimeter, 10 centimeter, 30 centimeter, maxer and all that. So what is the ideal? If you want to do the whole country, which is the best case scenario? And don't overdo. Understanding what you want from these images is very critical because you can fly the best instruments with, you can do LiDAR and 5 cameras on the sky, LiDAR and 5 cameras on the gypsies, LiDAR and 5 camera on handheld devices. Great. It looks great to like a video imagery of the whole town, but what do you use from that? So I'm not being critical about twin images, but I have my thoughts. We should be, therefore, in the current program that we're launching, we're trying to test all three. I have had a talk with a lot of people present here in this hall and beyond, internationally also organized by Klaus from World Bank. He helped us get through some of the guys in the world who are working on this. And nobody has the real answer. Everybody talks about, do the best. This is the technology, do the best right now. इससे आप erosion control भी कर लेंगे, flood control भी कर लेंगे. I want my objective to be clear. I don't want to do amount of solar roofing on the roof. I don't want to do that. It might be possible, but I don't know. Soon the technology becomes outdated. I have seen enough of the lying idle across the country. Bihar has 2018 5 centimeter aerial map. Went to survey now and has stopped. I was talking to the secretary and said, 3 months ka time abhi dete hain. So let's not get mixed up too much with what technology is possible. What you want from the technology is very important to answer. And that is, therefore, in the urban stuff, after hearing everybody and getting totally confused, we told we'll do 40 cities with 2D Swamitva style, Nadir camera, 40 cities with oblique cameras, 40 cities with LiDAR, mountains, towns. And we'll discover in the pilot which is the most economical and best for us. So that is what we are doing with caution. We don't know for sure. There's a lot available, but all should not be done. There's a cost limitation also. So my idea is let's try to figure out what works best. Nadir 2D worked in the Swamit model for Abadi areas. It might not work for urban, but it might just work for planned cities and planned areas. And I know of cities, but Bangalore has done completely with Nadir. Everything is available on 2D camera. You don't require oblique if you don't want to get into property taxation and get into number of floors. So I think we need to take it with a pinch of salt, how much you can do and not do. But we are opening 100, 120 cities this year, 1,000 next year and 1,000 maybe thereafter. So that's the idea.
Thank you. So Rakesh ji, you want to add something out here?
I'm so happy to hear what you said. What is the use case? Even if you take digital twin, I'll give you another example. All of us know that these days when the new vehicles are coming, those vehicles, they say it is ADAS 2.5. Now that's a very good use case. So for that, they need an ADAS map. So specifically, you make the ADAS maps, solve the problem of the vehicles so that the safety of the vehicles are better, then it makes sense. But simply building a digital twin for the sake of building it doesn't make sense to me also. I'm from the industry. I'm not trying to take away the business of others, but I also question it in my own mind.
Great. So Rahul, as you know that we are almost 5 minutes to the event. What do you think about how all this demand as a user which you are creating, which means asset management, city mapping, or going to the rural areas, What do you think about how you can actually encourage Indian industry to localize and scale?
See, one thing that needs to be done is also investment in capacity building
Yeah.
of your own resources as an industry and also of the city planner or city implementer who is going to be using that product. Because showing a good PPT, a good video of what has happened all over the world is fine. But at the end of the day, the person who's going to be using that product needs to have that kind of capacity. And unfortunately, for many of these emerging technologies, that capacity is not available. Even at the national level, when we see there are not too many people who are very well conversant with what this digital twin, BIM, etc., that we keep throwing these words around is, And even for the industry, when you're going into the urban space, it's multi-sectoral. You will find challenges in water, challenges in environment-related issues, sanitation, etc. Now you need to understand that landscape, and that is where your digital twin model, whatever you're trying to sell as a product, you'll be able to sell it because you'll be able to sell the idea of how you'll be able to solve my problem. Like many times we get vendor telling us this is the solution that we have and works great. I said, first, please tell me what is my problem as an urban practitioner. So you need to understand my problem as well. So that's why investment in capacity building is going to be very, very important if you need to reach the scale that this whole sector has the potential for.
Taking that clue, Kunal, what do you think that Indian industry should do, or how do you think that Indian industry should do? What are your expectations from Indian industry?
Expectations are pretty high, pretty quick. We want it in 3 months because my incentive flows ends by 31st of January. So one request is to be geared up very quickly whenever the document comes out of Survey of India. Surveyor General must have been there in the morning, but your times are extremely less because I'm funding the complete scheme. So we already launched a 194 crore program just to implement the scheme in the country, launched and given to the state. We know the cities. We have written to the cities. We have a SOP ready. But now we are working both ways. So there's a scheme that supports the implementation of the program. There's an incentive to the cities that cap it. And the cities can use it on capital stuff for their town. So I think it is both. And that window closes on 31st December, certainly on 31st of January. There's nothing much to maneuver. And ground truthing can follow thereafter. We understand that we also say in DOLR that flying is the easiest thing to do. Then interpretation and extraction are the second easiest thing to do. The third is in a city like any city, you have several pieces of documents. There is authority that gives approval of layout plan. There is a municipal commissioner who collects property tax. Some cities have survived the land records, RORs and cadastral maps. More problematic for me. If the city has sublimated the land records, it is easier for me. That becomes Swamitra. But if the city carries, Raipur carries, Guwahati carries, legacy of land records. So another layer, ROR, cadastral maps, layout plan approval, property taxation systems, registrations that have happened. The whole city survives. A lot of people presume registration document is the ownership document. It is not an ownership document. It is only a buyer, seller selling witnessed by the government. If the government doesn't witness, it is an agreement. If the government witnesses, it is a registration document. All of you have a flat in Delhi, you just have a registration paper. This is just an agreement. This is no ownership document. So all these systems should also fit into that. And then the guy goes to the ground and rings the bell. I call the ringing the bell. And then the owner will take out some documents from his locker or the bank locker. This is my document. No? And then marrying all these 5 documents together and telling he is the real owner and this is the quantum of land is a journey we need to take in 5 months. So industry has a lot to offer because you'll be soon flying over 120 odd cities within the next 3-4 months. And we are also trying to incentivize. If you do the job earlier, you get a better remuneration. If you do it beyond 4 months, we penalize you. So all that is factored in.
Thank you. I think we'll just take one question from Dr. Sultan quickly.
Thank you. It is a great platform. Thank you, Sanjay. Just I try to understand, land is a state subject. It is not a government of India. It is subject number 1. Then another thing, next thing, DOLR and urban area. Who are the custodian of the urban area of the land? That is the second stage of that. Why I am discussing that? I am involved last almost more than 2 decades. So this is a technically industry side there is no limitation about this project. Limitation from the R side because I am as a part of same system because we are not available the basic concept. Every state is their own way. So what we can do for that? First, whatever cities we plan 100 and 1,000, without that we can't proceed. So I'm evident of the last 20 years. Second thing, there is a no conclusive titleship act as on today in India. Without that, we can't say any ownership. We are the only leasee of this earth. So ownership is vested with the only GOI except North states. That's only 7 states. They are the custodian of the customary based. Many other things. Urban area is only for the use of the property tax collection for the facilities, amenities, services. There is no any custodian by urban department. That's why is only DOLR at that way. But DOLR deal till date is only agricultural land. First time DOLR is initiate that urban area. That is a good initiative. Earlier, this Parliament Standing Committee is constitute the preparation of this conclusive titleship. Then I'll try to understand what is your minimum measurable unit and what is your minimum mappable unit of that particular area of the interest. Without that, how can
बहुत
we
बड़ा
decide
सवाल
that
है।
technical? Thank you.
Sir, बहुत बड़ा सवाल है. I think the cocktail will be over by then. But still, if you want to make very quick comments on this, but this is a big topic. I think not the scope of this evening, but still.
So I think I observed 5 questions. So first question first, as per the, we are all guided, you're trying to create a divide between the panelists, but I'll not allow that. We all guided by the 1961 allocation of business rules by the Parliament, and land records is an item allocated to DOLR. Since it is sitting in the Ministry of Rural Development, it is presumed that we'll do only agricultural land, but that presumption was wrong, has been agreed to by all authorities. So please rest assured that as far as generation of land records is concerned, even Swamit would be offloaded onto DOLR shortly after the completion. So that database is sitting idle right now in pockets and pen drives and hard drives. Swamit is hanging in fire. But Swamit has to land somewhere into a state level data center or into some system. So that will also land shortly somewhere. Peri-urban areas are interesting, which is going. So that is the first. You asked a lot of questions, so I'll give a long answer. And by be impediment. So my first answer is land records is a mandate of the DOLR. It did not get into that. I am nobody to answer those questions, but rightly so, as per the mandate of the business rules, it is going into that. Whether it is Swamit or urban land records, only for land records. I'm not getting into urban planning. It's very difficult. Rahul will do it much better than me. Now, your second question about what is the size? Last question. So we are very cautious. We are cautious about technologies. We're using all the 3 technologies in this year. And we're also conscious about size. Soon it gets out of control very quickly. If I do Bombay has a city survey department. Maharashtra, Gujarat and Goa are blessed state. They have a city survey department. Others don't have. So our limitation currently is a city would not be of an area of more than 35 square kilometers. It would be less than that. Because an average of all these cities, 4,912 urban areas in the country, if you do average, it's 35 square kilometers. And we presume every square kilometer has 1,000 properties. That's the average. We're not taking any city beyond 2 lakhs currently, although the milestone provides for that, but we are conscious that you'll not be able to complete, bite as much as you can chew. So those are the 2 lakh and less population, 35 square kilometers and less area currently to learn as we pilot. You will also learn, I'll also learn. So that is your second. The third question about land being a state subject, right? Now, if you look at this is slightly boring, although I love law. Registration, land acquisition, both of them are in the concurrent list. So the Registration Act 1908 belongs to the Government of India. Land Acquisition Act 2014 belongs to the Government of India. Land, we understand, is a state subject. And therefore, the complexity which you are worried about is that DLMP program is not illegal. It is just trying to facilitate states If the state says we don't want to digitize our land records, they can very well say that and will not force them. But these are facilitative programs that try to bring states on board, and incentivizing them brings them more on board, as we learnt this year. So land is a state subject. Land would be guided by the Land Revenue Act and manuals of the states concerned, but we are moving in that direction also. We are trying to get into how do you unify this systems. Land would be state subject. So don't quote me outside that we are trying to take land. We are just trying to make the procedures simpler. And all the states onboarded have digitized their RO and cadastral maps, including Northeast. So they have all onboarded. Land remains a state subject, but we are just trying to facilitate that the transactions between land becomes much simpler. I missed one question, so I think I have
We
answered
can
four.
take it at the cocktail. Rahul, you want to add something before we close?
Yeah, just to supplement that, see, we are basically dealing in state subjects, but we are playing the role of a nudge. When it's about whether it's urban reforms, land reforms, so we basically try to create the right kind of incentives for states to basically undertake these kind of reforms, whether it's on digitization of land records, whether it's on GIS-based master planning of cities, or whether it's using geospatial technologies or emerging technologies like AI and ML into urban governance, digitizing your citizen-centric services. All those are definitely state subjects, but we as a central government, because we play that role of a nudge so as to ensure that the urban transformation or India's transformation story goes in a particular direction, that is up. So that's all.
With this, let's give them a round of applause.